edition of the Music Dreams USA Artist Spotlight. And today it's a first. That's right. We are going to be interviewing a heavy metal band. And they are called COVID 6669. And we are joined by the lead singer. His name is Jamie Carter. And we have the bassist guitarist. His name is Mr. Dean Babbitt. And these guys are coming from Washington State. That's right. And we are being brought to you by Music Dreams USA Radio, your home for the best mix of the 80s, 90s, and some amazing specialty shows mixed in as well. Also being brought to you by Vox Sports and Football Fanatics, covering the NFL. And make sure you join us coming up real soon here on the Vox Sports and Football Fanatics. Training camp is just around the corner, and you can join me and my buddy, Mr. David Florio, as we cover the NFL. But right now, let's go live and meet our special guest. It's a special edition. And oh, by the way, happy Father's Day to all of our fathers who are watching now.
Thank you.
A bit later. That's right. So let's go live now and meet our guest. Gentlemen, how are you doing? And welcome to Music Dreams USA Radio Artist Spotlight. How's it going?
Doing great.
All right.
So I like to say that Dean only plays bass when he has to.
Dean, would you like to collaborate on that one?
Yeah. Well, normally I play guitar. I did play bass on the third Coven album, and I fill in for bass. That's what I was doing a week ago over in Minnesota when I was playing with Steve Kelly's tribute band. So, but I play guitar normally in Coven.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Jamie, I've got a question for you, man. So, this is the first time that we've actually interviewed a heavy metal band. I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
But with you being like the lead singer, I mean, when I think of a heavy metal band, a lead singer, I'm thinking of someone who has like a lot of energy. It just really brings. I mean, how do you prepare yourself for a concert? Do you know you're going into it? It's going to be a high energy, really off the edge concert. How you prepare for that?
Well, one thing that's good is that because the band had a name in the 80s, we kind of have a built-in crowd. So there's always a lot of people at our shows and a good energy. And I used to mostly prepare with whiskey, but nowadays we actually, we just feed off of our fans. And I really love the music. I was a big fan of the band before I joined the band. And years ago, even in high school, I used to listen to the early albums. And it's just something that I truly love. So it's not hard to get worked up and get excited for the show.
Do you have any like special rituals that you do to get yourself ready for a show?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it used to be whiskey, but now, a stretch and, I actually warm up. I've taken lessons, vocal lessons recently with Pamela Moore of Operation Mindcrime fame. And she taught me how to warm up and to get my voice ready to sing. So I try to do that a little more now. And like I said, just try to not get too cold. Sometimes you have to get to the club really early and sit around for a long time. And you got to keep yourself fresh and ready to go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Dean, what got you into the music business? What made you want to do this?
Well, I started actually a friend of mine and I started actually came up with the idea for this band in high school. And, back then you're just like, hey, this is a cool way to meet chicks, right? That's the main motivation. And we just loved, when we first started playing, we were into Dio, Black Sabbath, and then a little later, Exodus, Slayer, and those type of bands. And we're just huge fans of that music. So we wanted to write our own,
Yeah. So do you have any ritual stuff? I mean, when you get ready for a show, do you have any pregame rituals that you do as well or not?
Yeah, basically just warming up, just making sure I play guitar for at least, maybe 20 minutes to a half hour before we go on, because a lot of our music is pretty fast. So you can't just go in cold and play like that, And especially as we're getting a little older, it takes a little more warm up, that's for sure.
Right.
I can imagine. And so
hydrate.
Yeah.
So this next question is for both of you gentlemen. All right. And so I'm going to ask you a question and you have to fill in the blank. Okay.
All
All
right.
right. If you weren't in the music industry, what would you be doing and why?
Go
Go
ahead.
for it, Jamie.
Okay, well, I would be writing novels. I always wanted to write books and be a writer, and I got swept up by thrash metal when I was a teenager, and I never really looked back until recently. I started trying to write again, so I think I would have been a writer.
Awesome.
Well,
Dean.
I mean, I would like to produce music, record and produce it if, if that was an option, if you're able to make a good living doing it. That's kind of like being a musician, right? You could make some money or you could just be poor your whole life. But, I've
Yeah, that
always liked
never
working
happens
on,
though.
vintage cars too. Or actually, what I do on the side is I buy and sell guitars. So, come to think of it, that's what I might be.
Hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah.
guitars.
Yeah, we got some guitars on the wall back here,
Wow, that's
and I
pretty
got
impressive.
probably really 100. I at least have 100.
How many you bring to a show?
2.
Well, I usually just bring 2, in case you break a string. I don't need this many. I just love guitars.
So let me ask you a question about the band now. So I mean, do you guys play original music or do you play covers or do you do both?
It's all original.
So the band put out 3 albums in the late 80s, early 90s, and I wasn't the singer at that time. Dean is an original member. They were friends in high school, all the guys. And they put out 3 albums that were on actual record labels when they used to have those. And the band is known internationally. So, but only 2 of the original members remain now. So it's a little bit of background. To get an insight to like I said earlier, I was driving around in my car in high school listening to their first album, and I didn't know these guys then.
Yeah, my brother and I, Neil Babbitt, we're the original members, and but when we decided to get back together, we had always been, after we kind of split up in about around '94, when MySpace came around, we had a MySpace just to coven MySpace, and we would get offers to do shows all the time. And finally, one offer we got, we had an offer from a guy to do a show or do a couple of shows in Northern California for a few $1,000s. We thought, hey, maybe this is something worth doing now. We ended up trying out a bunch of singers, but when Jamie came in, man, he knew all the songs, and we ran through the song list like it was a bunch of cover songs or something. He knew all the songs by heart. And as soon as he came in, man, it was just like, okay, this is going to work. And he's just a great front man. And really, he kind of organizes everything at this point. So he makes it all happen.
That's
I'm the
awesome.
manager.
You're the lead singer and you're the manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for us, it's all DIY.
Well, we're not doing too bad. We got this show in Hamburg, Headbangers Open Air Festival, coming up next month. And we have some shows in Southern California. Go ahead and talk about that, Jamie.
Yeah, so that was kind of the past history of the band. That there's the classic albums in the classic lineup, and now Coven 6669. We're going to go to Europe in about 4.5 weeks, and we're going to play Amsterdam, and we're going to play in Germany at the Headbangers Open Air Festival with Sacred Reich and Vicious Rumors and Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons. There's about 20 other bands on this festival. Bands like Queensryche and Nevermore have played it in the past. It's a really cool festival, outdoors at a farm, and people camp out there. And then in October, we're going to do 3 nights in Los Angeles. Actually, Los Angeles, Long Beach, and then we're going to play the Heavy Metal Swap Meet in San Diego, California. So we're really looking forward to some of these gigs that we got coming up.
So where do you guys get a lot of your connections from? Is it just word of mouth, or how are these events coming to you?
A lot of DIY, a lot of just honestly, the festival in Germany, I sent a cold email and said, hey, can we play your festival? And they said, this was last year, and they said, not this year, but we'll let you play next year. And I said, Oh yeah, right. Sure you will. But sure enough, about 4 or 5 months later, they sent me an email asking if we still wanted to be part of it. So sometimes that happens, but there's a lot of connections too. We're tied in with Gray Haven Media and also Northwest Metalworks, and that's some other exciting stuff that's happening with the band. Is we're going to be on a compilation album for Northwest Metalworks where they're going to release a remaster of one of our classic tunes, Succubus, some good heavy metal stuff there for you. And then there's some rumors that Gray Haven Media is going to re-release our original classic first album, Blessed is the Black, on vinyl and CD. So we're looking forward to see if that all comes to fruition.
That's awesome.
Just some really cool stuff going on for the band right now.
Yeah, if anyone's interested, all of our stuff is on Spotify now.
That's the other thing I was going to say.
Very
We
cool.
just got all 3 of the albums on streaming and download on all major platforms.
Right on. So how can our listeners get in contact with you if they maybe want to book you or even to purchase your music? I heard you just say Spotify. Are there any other outlets out there in which they can purchase your music?
Any outlet that does streaming or download, like Amazon, you can buy it through there, and Amazon Music. I believe Apple Music as well. Anything. Oh yeah, I just lost my screen there for a minute. Basically anything that DistroKid distributes to, because that's who we went through to put it all up there. And then also Gray Haven Media sells our albums and some of our merchandise, and then we also sell merchandise on our Facebook page. We have a lot of cool t-shirts and patches, and then we also have some CDs and some other ones to come. We don't have all of our titles right now, but
Awesome. So Dean, this question's for you. Let's go back to songwriting. You're one of the original members, and obviously it sounds like your band's had a lot of success, and you cranked out a lot of really good, catchy tunes. What does songwriting look like for the band? Is it? I mean, I know all the interviews that we do. I know some people do interviews. It's based on past experiences, or I know that there's other people that do interviews where it's like they maybe come up with a song, but maybe that song is not the right fit for them. And they kind of like reach out to other bands and say, hey, you want to take on this song, so on and so forth. So what does songwriting look like for your band?
Well, it works a few different ways. Sometimes like our bass player back in the day, Gary, because we haven't actually, recorded or released anything with this new lineup. But, Gary would come in, he'd have all lyrics, all the song parts. It'd be pretty much arranged. And same thing for the other guitar player, Paul, the original guitar player. He would bring in songs, or we'd bring in parts, So if you listen to our music, you can kind of tell. I mean, it's all the same. It's all in the same vein of thrash metal. But if you had listened to it for a while, you'd know who wrote what song, sort of. I believe. I don't know. Maybe not. What do you think, Jamie?
I mean, yeah, they definitely had their own style to bringing, and it's true that they would kind of work it out the entire song and then bring it to the band, and then each guy could put his touch on it. So, especially if you're really familiar with the music, you can kind of spot which songs stand out from different composers.
Like we have a song called Iron Dick, right? That song, we all kind of contributed. That song came together at a rehearsal. But like I said, a lot of times someone would come in with the song completed. So,
like the Monger, right?
Yeah, that song was completed by Gary before, he just said, here's the tune. And he was the bass player originally. He was the bass player originally, but he also was a guitar player. That was how it worked. We needed a bass player, and we already had 2 guitar players. He stepped in and he was in the band, awesome. For the first 10 years or so.
That's really, really cool. Again, we are live with Jamie Carter and Mr. Dean Babbitt. And they got a band. This is a cool name. It's called Coven 6669. And we are being brought to you by Music Dreams USA Radio. Your home for the best mix of the 80s and 90s and some amazing, especially programs as well. And to the right-hand side of our screen, you're going to see something called Support This Stream. Click on the link there. you can help us spread out and help support upcoming and aspiring artists. So do me a favor, the right-hand side of the screen, click on that link and help us share and spread the good news of music. So speaking of music, gentlemen, another question for both of you. So if you had one thing to change in the music industry, what would it be and why?
Come on, Dean.
Good question, huh, man?
I
Just
would
one
change
thing.
one thing. I would remove the album Load from the stratosphere. That's it. That's all I want.
Metallica Load is gone.
That's right.
No, I mean, there's no way to go back again, but back in the day when you could sell albums and make a living doing it, now nobody sells albums anymore, and you got to somehow make money selling your own merchandise or touring, right?
Right, especially I know with COVID, when COVID hit, I mean that caused a big headache on a lot of people. That prevented a lot of the bands from actually making money. So now that we're past that, and you guys going back on the road, is that where the bands make their money is by doing the concerts, stuff like that, or is it through sales, or is it a combination?
The big boys make their money playing concerts now. And if the ticket prices are nuts. I think we paid like 300 a seat to see Elton John, and for us, it's worth it. It was a great show, great performer. But if you add up all the thousands of people in that stadium, that's a big payday.
Right. Yeah.
The ticket prices kind of reflect, the money that was
So for
lost.
us, I mean, we basically do it because we love this music. We love the fans.
Our shows are $10.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Hey, can I give you a backstage pass to one of these shows?
It wouldn't be worth much, right?
sometimes 20, sometimes 20.
Yeah. But yeah, we do pretty decent on selling, t-shirts and stickers, this sort of thing,
We always outsell the other bands at the shows. Don't tell anyone, but
yeah.
Hey, no one's watching right now, so I think we're good. I know that's like a big lie. We're gonna have like thousands of people watching this right now. So
That's
actually,
great.
speaking of, we have a listener and she has a question. So my phone just blew up. All right.
All right.
So we have a question from Samantha, and she's in Charlotte, North Carolina.
All right.
And here's her question to both you guys. What got you into music, and what makes you have such a love and passion for it even now?
Go for it, Jamie.
Well, I think my parents were a big thing getting me into music. They listened to 50s and 60s oldies the whole time I was growing up, and contemporary 70s music. And then my mom had a friend who liked Queen and AC/DC, and it just escalated from there to Iron Maiden, Metallica, and then probably Cannibal Corpse at the end. But I don't know. I heard a thing that said that some people do get goosebumps when they hear certain songs, and other people never experience that. And I'm one of those people that get that when I hear a song or a key change or something that just really resonates with me. I can feel it all the way down, and I think that's what keeps me interested and makes me want to write and perform original heavy metal music.
Awesome.
Yeah. I would say me too. As far as my family was into music, I remember in my 6th grade class, the teacher had a bunch of guitars, and you could stay after class, and he would teach you something on guitar. And I remember the first time I played a chord, it was the same deal. It was just like, wow, I can't believe how cool this is, Or then I would hear someone else play guitar, and it would give you goosebumps, just from live performance, hearing other people that were good,
Wow, that's awesome. So my next question is this: who inspired you? Is there anyone that you look up to in the music business right now? Who is that person, and how do they inspire you?
I don't know. I would say musically, I'm inspired by like guys like Dave Mustaine and the guys in Anthrax, as they keep making really good albums. At least I think they're really good. I joke around and call it dad thrash sometimes, but I think some of the bands that except for Metallica, that made music when we were young that we were really into, I still like their music. So I think that's one answer for me.
Yeah, I listen to mostly older music, Black Sabbath, Ronnie James Dio,
AC/DC.
AC/DC, definitely, Iron Maiden, all the heavier stuff from back then. But I listen to pretty much everything, I like the old 70s, Bad Company, Bob Seger, any classic rock, that
Wow,
definitely
that's
inspires
awesome.
me. I'm not really I can't really think of offhand much new stuff that I like, but maybe that's just an old guy thing, right?
Yeah.
There's no age discrimination on the Russell K show.
I know later on I'm going to think of somebody who's really inspiring, who's out there doing it. Of course, Dave Grohl is a guy that a lot of people take inspiration from, and I think he seems to be like a really cool individual. But
yeah.
So
The
let's
Foo
talk
Fighters
about
are
your
still a
music
real
again.
band. They're not playing the backing tracks or any of this.
no backing track.
Yeah, we would
never
never,
happens.
ever. If it ever came down to us using backing tracks, it'd be over.
We would just sound like
So,
shit.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your music and the band and the music. So when people listen to your music, what is the message that you're sending out to the fans listening?
Well, our music is kind of, it's not serious. It's kind of outrageous. It's maybe offensive.
Pseudo-satanic.
Yeah. I mean, anything we do is just for shock value, and it's not really to be taken seriously. We have a song called 6669. We have a song called Iron Dick.
Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Thinking about serial killers.
Yeah.
Demons.
That's not so funny, I guess, but
it can be funny.
Yeah, but
so the message is have a good time and party hard and bang your head. I mean, we're not too politically politically active or trying to get some great message out there through the music, to be frank.
Just have fun, play heavy music,
There you go. Speaking playing heavy music and having some fun, let's talk about some of those fun memories that the band's had. Do you have any particular moments that just mean a lot to you that you'll never forget? What are those moments and why are they so special?
Well, opening for some of the national acts that we've listened to our whole lives, like Death Angel and Flotsam and Jetsam, and who else did we play with? Destruction. We played with Bates
Anvil,
Raven. We play with a bunch of bands that we all grew up listening to. So those are always special moments. One moment we can't ever forget is when we did our first out-of-state gig down in California. Our manager at the time had a wee bit of a drinking problem, and we were all having fun and partying, but this guy got so drunk that he stayed up all night trying to get hookers in downtown Oakland by our hotel, and ended up had to ride home with him the next day when he was just out of his mind, blitzed, and I think everybody wanted to fire him when we got back to Washington State.
Yeah.
So that's a funny memory, but maybe not the most heartwarming one.
That's awesome.
That's the short version.
What about you, Dean? Any special moments for you?
Man, I don't know if there's any heartwarming moments. There's a lot of disastrous moments, but
come on.
Well, share one with us. I mean, come on. This is the artist spotlight. Go ahead, share one with us.
So,
because the curious minds want to know.
One of the first shows we did, this was back in 1984. We're playing at this grand opening of this club. Actually, one of the bands, the headline
84.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. 84, maybe 85. It's hard to remember, but anyway, we were opening, and the headliner band had all of their gear set up, so you had to set up in front of them. and it was a really old club in Seattle, probably 100-year-old club, and it had one of those curtains that raised upwards, not to the sides but up. So we had our drums set up, and we had the drums were built into a cage, so they're all kind of one piece. Well, I'll have to add to it also that, I worked at McDonald's at the time. The singer worked at Chuck E. Cheese's. So we had the worst haircuts ever. We wanted to have long hair, so we wore these witches' wigs. Yeah, it was pretty terrible. And there's some pictures of it actually on our Coven site. But anyway, so we had this intro tape, and it started playing, and the curtain started going up. We also had this stage set with these crosses and candelabras, and we had we had blood capsules in our mouths, right? So the curtain starts going up, and it stops at about our knees. The stage is maybe 4 feet high, so we start playing, and we have to stop, and we're just standing there. We don't know what to do. People are coming up and looking up under the curtain, laughing at us, And then all of a sudden, the curtain starts going up again. But now the bottom of the curtain where the weights are, it hooks the drum cage and starts lifting the drums up.
Wow.
So we're playing, and I'm looking over to my left, and I see the drummer standing up, and I'm thinking, all right, man, he's getting into it. No, he's trying to unhook his drums. So finally, he just sat down on his drum seat as the drums went up. The microphones are falling off the drum set, just thumping on the stage, and we had to stop again. And by this point, everyone is laughing at us. And I was thinking, well, at least I got a wig on and this white face makeup, so nobody will know who I am, right?
That is a special memory.
It was crazy. And then, so basically, they had to unhook the drums, set them up, and we still had to play our set, which didn't go off too bad. But after the show, actually, we were walking out of the backstage, and these girls came up and they said, "Hey, what do you guys really look like?" And we took off our wigs, and then they just left.
It's so wrong.
Oh, that's awesome.
So maybe you can help me with this one, Jamie. What is a blood capsule? What is that?
It's like for Halloween, you get this little. It looks like a big Tylenol or something, and it's full of this red dye. And when it mixes with your saliva, looks like you're spitting up blood. Many a heavy metal theatrical band uses these as props over the years.
Yeah, we haven't tried that since then.
Yeah, that was more of an 80s thing.
Good.
No, they taste horrid. And if you're trying to sing, you don't want anything like that in your mouth. No.
So here's another cool question for both you guys. With the band, right? Especially you, Jamie, being the lead singer, right? How do you memorize all those songs? So here, let me put you in this scenario, right? You're doing a concert. Maybe it's like a 12 song set, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you're singing one of the songs and maybe you miss a part of it. How do you cover that up so people don't know that you made a mistake?
Just scat it out if you forget. But I have a good memory for lyrics. I don't know if it's just rehearsal, songs that you actually write, like in my other bands where I actually wrote the lyrics to the music. You'll never forget those. But I just, we've been rehearsing for 10 years. And, like I said, back in the day, I'd have a lot of whiskeys and I wouldn't even remember where I was. And I'd still remember all the lyrics. So somehow they just get embedded in there.
Yeah, it is actually amazing that Jamie, he doesn't make a mistake. And there were times back in the day when whiskey was involved that I remember before we went on, we'd be headlining, it'd be late at night, and his head would be down on the table. And I'd be thinking, is this going to happen? And he would jump up and do it. And it was great, man. I actually, when he told us he was going to quit drinking, I was thinking, really?
What about the show? But it's been okay.
Yeah, it's so much better. Yeah, it's great.
What's the craziest thing that's ever happened at a show, and how did you overcome it?
Let me think for a second. I know the craziest write-up is that, I don't know if I should say this on the show, but it used to be if you Googled my name and Coven, it would say Jamie Carter told the whole audience to S his D I must have said it because it was the headline. But what's the craziest thing that's happened at a show?
Well,
we don't have fights and stuff at our shows. It's old metalheads. They're pretty mellow people for the most part. We get a little mosh pit going at most of our shows. People like to slam dance a little bit, but can you think of something truly crazy, Dean?
Well, back in the day, I remember one time we played with The Accused, and they brought a television set, an old school one with the tubes, and smashed that thing with a hammer on stage, and there was glass everywhere.
Oh my God.
And then everybody was getting cut. There was blood on the ceiling, I remember, at that show. It was crazy.
Wow.
But stupid stuff like that. I went to a show back in the day with a band called Serpent's Night where they had a pig's head that they cut up with a chainsaw on stage, which was crazy. Yeah, pretty crazy. Nowadays, we just play the music and, people headbang. Maybe they'll have a sore neck the next day, but that's about
the craziest thing that used to happen was how hammered was Jamie going to get.
Yeah.
It's a recurring theme.
Well, I gotta tell you, I'm really enjoying this interview. It's the first time we've ever interviewed a heavy metal band. You guys are amazing. So give yourselves a nice round of applause. You guys are awesome.
Right.
Thank you.
It's been great being on the show. I like the format too. It's really really nice.
Yeah.
Are there any heavy metal clubs over in your area?
Well, we're gonna bring you down here, man. We're gonna talk to our contact person, Steve Cherry here, and we're gonna see if we can get you guys down here. I'd love to see you guys at concert. I think that would be amazing. In all my years in the music industry, I can honestly tell you live on the air right now, I've never been to a heavy metal concert.
You have to stretch your neck.
So I think that's definitely on my to-do list right there for sure.
So do you live in Niagara Falls or where are you?
We're in the Carolinas. So we have two. We're actually coming to you live right now from our Niagara Falls studios, but we also have a studio in Charlotte, NC, North Carolina. We have 2 locations right now, and so
got to do some East Coast shows. Man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Any final thoughts you want to share with our listeners who are watching now, who will be watching a little bit later on? Is there anything you'd like to share with them as we close out our show?
If you like old school thrash metal, check us out at Coven Official on Facebook. And we'd love to see you in Europe too. We're going to be in Europe in the second half of July. If any of your listeners are European, people think it's really big, but all of Germany is like the size of New Mexico. So it's easy to get over and see us while we're there.
Dean, any final thoughts for you?
That's about it, man. I'm just excited to do these shows. Definitely check out on Spotify or all the streaming platforms if you're into old school thrash metal like Slayer, Exodus, Megadeth, that sort of music. It's Coven. I think you can just search for Coven on Spotify, right, Jamie? Have you checked
There's
it out?
a couple of different artists that are just Coven, so you kind of have to know the names of the albums. If you look for Blessed is the Black or Death Walks Behind You or Boneless Christian, those are the album names. They'll come right up. If you put in Coven, you kind of have to look through it a little bit and figure out which one is us and which one is the Gothic 60s group.
The best way to find us is definitely Facebook.
There you go.
Coven Official. Coven Official.
There you go. Hey, I got another question.
That's where you can find all of our shows.
There you go. That's cool. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, that was
okay.
it.
Hey, do you have any music coming up that you're working on right now? Any new music you maybe share with our audience?
So we just got involved with Northwest Metalworks to do a 40-year retrospective where they're going to go all the way back to, like Dean was saying, 1984. I was still in middle school then. I'm not that old. And get some of the demos, and then possibly there was going to be a couple of new recordings on there of original songs. So we are working on a few new ones that could come out in 2024.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah. You definitely got to send us some of your music. I mean, I would love to play it for you guys. So seriously, we can, put together a show. We'll call it the Heavy Metal Hour, starring
Jamie and Dean.
Yeah.
There you go.
We'll play all our.
I'd be concerned if we didn't. Awesome. Any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to share with us prior to ending our show here this evening?
Just be excellent to each other.
Okay, Dean.
Yep. Thrash hard. Listen to metal.
All right.
Hopefully, we'll see you at a show soon.
Awesome. Well, again, on behalf of Music Dreams USA Radio, and a special thank you to Steve Cherry for bringing us together with you guys here this evening. And it's a pleasure meeting you. And thank you for sharing about your band and your musical history and all that good stuff. So we appreciate your time today, and especially on Father's Day. Today's Father's Day, and you guys are hanging out with us. So I know that Dean, once he gets off the show, he's going to hang out with his family. And then, he's going to have a big old dinner there. So what does the plans look like for you, Jamie?
Oh, my family's here too. My adult children live in the house, and my wife is here. So we're going to have pork chops and rice. And my children bought me copious amounts of chocolate, so I'm all set up.
What did you get, Dean?
That's what old metalheads think, yeah.
What did you get for Father's Day, Dean? Anything cool?
Just my family come on over for dinner.
We got something for dinner. Anything good?
That's about. Well, I'm not actually even sure. My wife's out there cooking right now, so
Nice.
I have my excitement of the day is I give my dog a bath. So
there you go.
Fresh smelling dog.
Happy Father's Day.
Jamie's got lots of dogs. He's got lots of animals.
Do you, Jamie? How many pets you have?
5 dogs, 3 cats. It's a nightmare.
Wow. No. That's cool. So what are the names of your dogs?
You want to know what their names are? Cyrus, Mr. Cyrus, Princess Rain, Sir Charles, Maddie, and the other one's name is Juliet, the little chihuahua.
What about the cats? What's their names?
That's 2 of them are my kids. Our cat's name is Blue, and then my kids' cats are named Splinter and Mabel.
Wow.
Yeah, I can barely remember. Good thing I don't have
My
grandkids.
dog's name is. I got Noodles. Noodles the dog. He's a pug. Jamie's got a pug.
Yeah,
too.
Charles.
Yeah.
Well, we love the 80s and 90s, and we love coffee, man. I keep been looking at this beautiful cup of coffee this whole time.
Yeah, look at that.
I know. And you know what? That's our segment out. So again, as you watch our show now or you're watching in the future, help us to support upcoming and aspiring artists. All you got to do is click on a link there. And by doing so, you'll be able to spread this interview to other people and help us get the name out to our special guests here today, and also help to spread the good news of music. And again, we are being brought to you by Music Dreams USA Radio, your home for the best mix of the 80s and 90s with some special shows as well. And also Fox Sports and Football Fanatics, the NFL training camps are just around the corner. Make sure you join me.
Seahawks.
We got some Seahawks fans here, I'm sure. And so you'll join me and David Florio as we cover the NFL. Come up here in just a few weeks. And so we're excited about that. Until then, a special thank you goes out to Dean and also to Jamie. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us here on the Music Dreams USA listener page. And all the best to you guys and as you move forward. And I know this won't be the last time we see you guys, and look forward to our next opportunity. Until then, you take care and be safe, and all the best as you travel.
Thanks, Russell.
All right. Thank you, Russell.
Hey, take care. Have a great day, guys.